The price chart, as I often say, is the 200-week moving average, which you see it's a 45-degree angle pointed up, hasn't changed in 15
Almost
years.
constantly, yes.
Right? Which is just screaming to new all-time highs all the time. And that's the true power of, where the true conviction is. ETF holders are not, don't have a lot of conviction. They'll buy and sell ETFs every 3 months, 4 months. Their brokers call them up and say, dump your Bitcoin ETF and buy this other ETF. And they're just trading. They don't even know what Bitcoin is, and they have no conviction in Bitcoin at all. They're just trading stuff. Nobody who's in the business cares what the price is, because they have conviction that everything eventually goes to zero against Bitcoin. And it's happening on a faster and faster timeline.
Bitcoin maximalist Max Keiser has revealed his bold market outlook for 2025, forecasting that Bitcoin is on a direct path to $220,000 and potentially far beyond. According to Kaiser, we're on the brink of a massive turning point in the crypto space, driven by what he sees as an imminent collapse of traditional financial markets. He warns that mounting debt and the unraveling of complex financial systems are setting the stage for a major global event, one that will expose the inherent weakness of fiat currencies. Kaiser describes the current financial environment as a slow-motion train wreck that has been building for over 2 decades and has now reached a tipping point. When it breaks, he believes it will trigger an unprecedented flight to safety, pushing capital into Bitcoin as the ultimate hedge against economic chaos. This migration, he claims, could drive Bitcoin's price as high as $2.2 million. As institutional giants like BlackRock continue to increase their exposure to Bitcoin, Kaiser anticipates a tidal wave of capital flowing into the crypto space, far greater than anything we've seen before. In this interview, Max Keiser dives deeper into his predictions, the forces shaping the market, and what we can expect in the critical weeks and months ahead.
Elements within his government are very committed to Bitcoin, like Cynthia Lummis and maybe Ted Cruz and Matt Gaetz maybe. But of course, there are other competing elements. He launched his own coin, which predictably did not do well. And so there's a lot of cross currents going on there. And so I always say there's 5 stages of Bitcoin awareness. The first stage is, wow, I just discovered Bitcoin. Here's how you fix it. 2 is, oh, I love Bitcoin. Take my coin. 3 is Bitcoin is a medium of exchange. 4 is Bitcoin is a store of value. And 5 is Bitcoin, hyper-Bitcoinization. So everyone kind of falls into one of those 5 categories. So Trump is kind of in stage 2, where it's like, I love Bitcoin, take my coin, right? So he's on stage 2 of 5, and hopefully he'll get, further down the road. Obviously, you see it in the policies in Washington, D.C., where they're doing Bitcoin Strategic Reserve and Bitcoin education products. Nobody who's in the business cares what the price is, because they have conviction that everything eventually goes to zero against Bitcoin. And it's happening on a faster and faster timeline. So I don't care what the price is today. I just want as much Bitcoin as I possibly can, because everything is going to zero against Bitcoin. That's conviction. And that's what the people who throw money at the network, who have sunken costs, who are actually throwing cash, raising money and dumping it into the ground to build miners, out in Texas. They have conviction in this industry that has not been seen in any other industry, I don't think. Maybe the 49ers, the gold miners in California in 1849, perhaps you would see a similar phenomenon of highly folks with great conviction. But that industry ultimately leads to a commodity that is not inelastic. Only with Bitcoin is it a finite supply. So it's infinite demand meets absolute scarcity. So you put those two together, and you're going to end up with everything going to zero against it. And the daily price chart is not telling you the information you need to know. Look at these other factors, these other charts, to get a better picture of what's really happening, right? Every 4 years, there's a new generation that gets their clock cleaned. And it's been that way for 1,000 years, and it's never going to change. But I think now we've passed the point where we no longer have doubts. This is going to be a major story going forward for the next 50, 100 years. And it's already changing a lot that's going on. And the idea of absolute scarcity is baked into our DNA and highly desirable. Human beings are programmed to be attracted to something of absolute scarcity.
This is how you buy and sell crypto the easy way. using eToro, one of the world's leading trading platforms. If you're new to crypto, eToro makes it super simple. Let me show you how I bought Solana in just a few taps. First, head to the search bar and type in Solana. Tap on it, then hit trade. I'm going to invest $10, that's the minimum. Now just hit buy and done. I now own Solana. Selling is just as easy. Go to portfolio, tap your Solana asset, then click close and confirm your sale. Super simple. That's how quick and beginner-friendly eToro is. But here's why I use eToro. Earn up to 4.3% interest on non-invested funds, 0% commission on stocks, and you can set up an account in just minutes if you want to start your crypto journey. Use my link in the description to sign up to eToro today and start trading.
And this means that you've got a proposition of infinite demand on absolute digital scarcity existing entirely outside the control of any entity or any state. Then you put that all together and you end up with a global social, political, economic revolution. You know, the problem with prediction markets or simulated markets online is that they're bid offer, they match markets, and there's no real much in terms of volatility. But with my design, I created a way on the back end to create volatility without disturbing the dynamics of the price parity of all the securities within that market. And that attracted a lot of attention because you can say Mel Gibson's stock dropped 40% today on the Hollywood Stock Exchange, and then I'd go on CNBC and talk about it, which would drive venture capitalists to give us more money. But that volatility was amped on the back end with the virtual specialist technology to exaggerate movements, if you will. And so Bitcoin, because it has extra volatility, it's covered in the papers all the time. Like, Bitcoin dropped 40%. Everyone's crying. But,
Sure.
you know, it's got that huge awareness now. Like, what the hell is Bitcoin? It got our awareness, like, in the volatility. And, we started covering it because it's a great story to cover. If you have to fill a show, 3 shows a week with content, and there's this wacky new asset class that's got people, slaving away on their home miners, and it blows up every 20 minutes. This is a great story to keep covering, which is what, drove our content for years. I would say from 2011 to 20, then Mt. Gox happened in 2014. And because you're one of the first people in history to realize something about separating money from state, and whether you instinctively know this or can articulate it, and that it's a revolution that's happening, and it's hard to express the feelings and the thoughts that are happening in your head. But you can see it in the eyes, and you can see the pinwheel spinning in people's eyes when they talked about Bitcoin.
With unwavering confidence in the crypto space, Kaiser predicts that explosive growth is just around the corner. As BlackRock and other major players continue to ramp up their involvement, he assures that the long-anticipated surge is finally within reach. According to Kaiser, Bitcoin is poised for a dramatic price increase in the first half of 2025, marking the beginning of a powerful new rally.
Left-wing policies tend to be run on government programs that are funded by printing money. So if you have money that's outside of their control, they cannot fund these government programs, and therefore they lose power. And it's come out, I think we can say with a lot of, assurity that a lot of the things going on with the Democrats in terms of just sending out checks, buying votes, and buying programs, it's all with printed money. So once you take away the money printer, you can't do any of that stuff. So I can understand why they would be fearful of Bitcoin. There's always a classic divide between the free market on the right and the state-run government models on the left. And the state-run government models, they love issuing papers and issuing theoretical academic studies, and they love Keynesianism, and they come out of the university system where they're academics, and then they transition to government studying economic academia, and they have theories about what's fair and what is equitable. And then they use the power of the state to impose these theories. And of course, that never works. It never has worked ever in the history of the world, that governance model such as that. And it always ends up going back to market-driven economies. And we mentioned gold earlier. And as these central banks are having trouble around the world and economies are having difficulty around the world, of course, gold is responding, because gold is pure price signal in a global economy. And it always comes back to gold. We never went off a gold standard. Central banks always settle in gold, has been doing that for decades. And now that they look like we're heading to a Bretton Woods 2.0, where everyone has to get together and reconfigure the global matrix of trade again, they're going to feature gold. That's how they'll start. But they probably will start with gold and end with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a movable feast, right? And you can memorize your seed phrase and go anywhere you want in the world. So if the conditions change in the United States, then Bitcoiners can leave and go somewhere else. And it's an open market. It's a free market. It's the first time you've separated money from state. That's never, ever happened before in the history of humans. And that means that you've got a monopsony, which is power of the consumer, essentially. So it goes from a monopoly power to a monopsony power, where it's a boycott. For example, a boycott is a monopsony. The boycotters are forcing change on a company by not buying the product. That's called a monopsony. With Bitcoin, you have a monopsony of money. The Bitcoiners and the private keys can simply leave and go somewhere else and do what they want. So I think the state, and I say the following, and I've said this for a long time now: money existed before the state. Bitcoin separates money from state. So I think the state, along with the central bank model, is fading into history.
Kaiser questions the reliability of traditional macroeconomic indicators, arguing that metrics like labor statistics and inflation rates are often manipulated to fit specific narratives rather than reflect the economy's true condition. In contrast, he sees Bitcoin as a financial system free from these distortions, an alternative grounded in transparency and decentralization. He also points out that major corporations such as Apple, Amazon, and Google are well-positioned to leverage their long-standing institutional relationships to quickly gain exposure to Bitcoin via spot ETFs, sidestepping the complexities of directly acquiring the asset. This, he argues, highlights how crypto is reshaping traditional finance at its core. Michael Saylor echoes this sentiment, stressing the urgency of adopting digital currencies as the financial world undergoes rapid transformation. He encourages investors to recognize Bitcoin's potential and use it as a tool for long-term financial resilience. What's your take on Max Keiser's latest outlook? Do you agree with his bold predictions for Bitcoin? Let us know in the comments below. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out daily 5-minute crypto newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.